Welcome to Perficient's blog series, Zero to Cloud ERP Success in 8 Weeks or Less. My name is Samantha German, and I'm the practice leader here at Perficient for the Cloud ERP practice. I started my Oracle career back in 1997 working with EBS, and for the last 3 years, I've been solely focused on Cloud ERP. Today and this week, we're going to talk about the 8 week or less double check. Not everyone qualifies for an 8-week implementation, so here are some key things to keep in mind. Look to see if your company has key qualifications that would allow the 8-week or less implementation to be successful. We'll go over expectation management and what your next steps could be. Key qualifications. Look at 3 things within your company: your processes, your enterprise structure, and your decision maker availability. When it comes to processes, look to see if your AP or your AR processes are custom or are they standard, and consider that willingness to change within each department. There are several places you can go online. There's a Modern Best Practices for Cloud. You can go to that site and look at what those best practices are. Meet with your department heads and see if you can change things within your company before you start down the process of Cloud ERP implementation. Enterprise structure. Look at the complexity of what you have. Enterprise structures are legal entities, ledgers, chart of accounts, and you want to look and to see in your business units, and you want to look to see how complex are you? How many of these intercompany transactions occur? What is your banking structure? Those are 2 things that could take a lot of time to implement. So you want to think about it. And if you have an 8-week or less implementation and you want to work with the banks, you're going to have to get those guys online. So consider that, because banks tend to be a few weeks on a lag. So when you're wanting to go live in 8 weeks, make sure you set that expectation not only with your team, with your SI, but also with your banks. And those decision makers, they're in accounting, they're in operations, and they're in information technology. They're across the board. They need to make decisions quickly because you need to have the implementation go quickly. So if there's a question that comes out and it's regarding, let's say, a business process or an accounting combination that gets created within a transaction, that decision needs to go from whoever receives it on the email and back to your SI to do that configuration change very quickly, because we only have 8 weeks. It's very difficult to have meeting after meeting after meeting. So those decision makers not only need to be available, they need to have the authority to make those decisions, and they need to return those to the SI quickly. Expectation management. I think one of the biggest changes here is that expectation management is pushed forward within the sales cycle. So in the statement of work, you can list out detailed business processes or testing. So for example, you want to successfully be able to create an invoice, to have invoice approval working, to adjust an invoice. All those detailed processes need to come at the very front of the cycle. If you wait until all of the consultants are available or the project starts, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So get in front of it. When you're going through this, you already know how your business operates. So get those processes within the pre-sale cycle. Look at your detailed legacy data and consider how much information is there, how much you want to bring over, what the cleanliness of it is, and do you guys have internal resources to extract that data timely? And travel. A typical project or projects in the past have always had consultants on site. Consider an alternative method to this. Maybe the consultants are not on site every week, but yet they're there in the beginning, they leave, they come back, and they work with your users, and they're probably not there all week long. They're probably there for just a few days. If you look at the time it takes for someone even to travel across town, if you travel across town and it's an hour to go from your house to the client site, that is, 2 to 3 hours a day, which is 10 to 12 hours a week. That's a whole working day plus more. So leverage that travel time and make it work for your project. Rapid movement. There's traditional project plans that a lot of people are looking for upon the start of the project. You don't have time to go through and set up specific testing cycles. So what happens is you start with your CRP, then you have reiterative weekly cycles to go through that project. And test is test. You put stuff in test to make sure it works for your business. You might have to reconfigure things or you check things out during the process. So don't get concerned if the consultants are coming back with different options and one might not be for your company. And support. Make sure you have enough internal support for your legacy data and make sure it gets clean and extracted timely. Also, on your desktop, there could be things like for SmartView or for your particular company. Make sure the users of Cloud ERP are going to have admin rights on their laptop, or you have someone from your IT department looking into that. And after you go live, make sure you leverage the support from your SI. And finally, your next steps. You can define your enterprise structures, look at your modern best practices, and make sure they work. And don't forget to clean that data. That legacy data can be cleaned at any time in the process of extracting your information that you want to take from your legacy system to the new system. It doesn't need to wait for the project to start. Thanks for attending this week's blog series, and come back next week for the 4th of 5 series.